If you love the thrill of racing but hate the risks, then buckle up. Everything Simulated is here to merge adrenaline with absolute safety. In a world where technology meets adrenaline, Everything Simulated is revolutionizing driver training with state-of-the-art simulators. From truck training to the thrill of motorsports, our simulators offer the most realistic experiences across all automotive applications. Gone are the days of endless bookwork and basic drills. Now it's all about hands-on, pulse-pounding action that prepares you for the real deal. Whether you're maneuvering a heavy mining vehicle or racing a high-speed car, our simulators, equipped with cutting-edge technology from leaders like SimRigs and TrackRacer, bring every nuance of the drive to life. And talk about making a mark. We're not just building simulators, we're fostering talent. From grassroots motorsports to professional series like the Aussie Outlaw GT3, sponsored by us, Everything Simulated is fueling dreams and careers. Ready to feel the excitement of the racetrack under your fingertips? Connect with us, and let's build your next simulator adventure together. Remember, we support those who support us. Join the Everything Simulated family, and let's race towards the future.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the finale of the Everything Simulated F4 Championship. Supported by Player One Sim Gear, we have come to Suzuka for the last race of our championship season for a feature round, one of just three we've had over the course of this season. Previously at Bathurst and Motegi, the bigger circuits of our calendar season. Now it's time for the final one here at Suzuka in these F4 machines with two championships that technically are up for grabs among a couple of drivers, but more realistically are already sewn up by our championship leaders. Ben Roberts in the gold class and Alexia Watson in the silver class as well. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Jared Cole with you tonight as always for this final round of the season. And we've had a good season, Jared, but unfortunately for us, this championship finale where two drivers scrap it out in both classes really close to one another has not quite happened for us. It's going to be a race in isolation, I feel, with the amount of drivers we've got in the field. They'll all be hoping for a race win individually, but we are pretty sure we know who the champions are going to be.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, and great to be back with you again for this final round of the F4 Championship, Ewan. What a place to come to finish, though. Despite the fact that we don't have a nail-biting finish at the top of the table for this season, look, I'm an eternal optimist. It's still technically possible, I suppose, perhaps, that Ben Roberts won't take this out, but it would require someone to do a pretty hefty kind of, weather dance or something like that to knock out his power right about now and have him not even start the race. That's pretty well how well he's got it sewn up. Aside from all of the championship, though, Suzuka is just such an ideal place for open wheel racing. It's an incredibly technical circuit with so much variety, and it brings a whole other level of challenge to these drivers. I'm really looking forward to it. It's one of my favourites, I reckon.
It's going to be a good circuit in these cars, I feel, as well, which is always a positive. But let's just go a bit deeper into those championship standings before we get more to the circuit and the qualifying session, which has just started. The championship standings currently have Benjamin Roberts on 95 ahead of Oisin Colangelo. Is this before last week? I'm not sure. It's not as many as the sheet has on it, but anyway. Colangelo in second place. The battle really is going to be for third, to be honest, in the gold class anyway, with Kane Ryder, Thomas Hinds and Daniel Byrne third, fourth and fifth, and they are all in with a shout of third place. Byrne maybe a little bit far behind really for overtaking Kane Ryder, but Thomas Hinds is not that far away. Rishabh Banerjee is up towards the front, as well as the likes of Dan Ackland, Danny Davison, etc. In the silver category, we have got a pretty close run thing between Alexi Watson and Tristan McLaren, because Alexi Watson isn't here today. We were mentioning this a little bit at Winton last week, that he sort of had to gain a big enough margin to effectively lose points on the final day, which is what he's pretty much guaranteed to do, but not lose enough to lose the title. Now, Watson wasn't able to completely exclude the chance that McLaren actually gets past him in this race, and that will be of concern to him. Starts the day, 55 points, behind does Tristan McLaren. And if Watson isn't here, needs just 7th place overall to tie and 6th place overall to overtake. Now, need to check the countback rules in the silver category to find out who would win in a situation where they both tie. But it's maybe a little bit more open than you'd expect in silver, but even so, coming 6th or better for McLaren is actually going to be quite difficult on this final race of the season.
Yeah, it is asking a huge amount, isn't it? It's a shame, as we said, but look, it's the just reward for the efforts that we've seen from the top end of this field right throughout this season. And look, Ben Roberts, Alexi Watson have really earned it. It's a shame Watson's not here tonight. We'll see how that pans out for him. It could really be anyone's at this point.
Yep, and we will wait and see, of course, as we get into the session. The first lap times in this qualifying session are about to come to a close, so you've not missed anything in qualifying at the moment. It is only just really getting started. Just over 2 minutes, of course, the lap times around this circuit for these cars, which are quite low-powered machines for the length of this circuit. And very unsurprisingly, when we join, Team Max Boost are running all in a line. Kane Ryder, Ocean Colangelo, Alan McGee, not seen too much of this season. Vaughan Ryder, Ben Ryder, and somebody tagging on the back there as well, as they all go over the line. This is a disadvantage that Ben Roberts has had all season, really. The fact that Colangelo has been able to just draft with teammates has really helped in certain circuits, not at all of them, to be fair, given the tight and twisty nature of some of the circuits, like Winton last week. But yeah, it's been a real advantage this season in qualifying to have those teammates around.
It has, but it certainly hasn't slowed Ben Roberts down, has it? It kind of makes you wonder what would he be capable of if he was racing with a couple of teammates to set up a train like we see from Team Max Boost so often. It kind of boggles the mind a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, really. I've just had a look at the rule book, by the way, about what happens in a tie. In the event of a tie, the winner is determined by the highest average finishing position. And there's no other rules below that. So
I'll
just
have
work
to desperately
out
grab out a calculator and figure out where Alexi Watson has finished in every race and what that averages out to. And yeah, that could be a tricky one.
In Tom's notes to us, though, he says that Watson has, obviously locked up who he races, but he's not. Otherwise, McLaren and Parks have a chance with a top 7 finish, and now 7th place for McLaren only gets him to a tie. So I'm going to presume that McLaren is the one with the lower average finishing position. But you're right, we are going to have to bust out the calculator here in a second and just work out who is going to win that tiebreaker. I guess it's not a bad way of doing a tiebreaker, because the chances of a tie, you see normally it's race wins and then 2nd places, then 3rd places, and sometimes those metrics can be tied. I guess this way it's exceptionally unlikely there is going to be a tie, which I guess is why Race Control have chosen that tie-breaking method.
Yeah, I suppose so. And look, we may well be faced with a tie on points here, right? With Watson on 317, if McLaren finishes 7th, he'll tie for total points. If Parks finishes 6th, he'll tie for total points. So you could potentially actually have a 6th, 7th finish from Parks and McLaren and have a 3-way tie for the win. Honestly, that's a pretty tasty kind of cliffhanger to leave the coverage on. If it does come to pass, because that will require a countback.
Yeah, I'm in the halfway through doing the maths. Alexi Watson has finished in 13.25 position on average each race, 12 races.
It's a 13 and a quarter for Watson.
13 and a quarter, yeah. Just obviously not a position you can actually finish in, but you understand how averages work, so so that's fine.
Close enough.
It's close enough. It's close enough. To be fair, it's a little bit lower. I don't know about you. It's a little bit lower than what I would expect actually from the silver class leader. I guess this, again, this is how averages work, and the fact that he's ninth place in the standings doesn't mean that he should be averaging ninth in the finishing positions, especially given Benji Roberts and Colangelo have basically sewn up two of the podium places on every occasion between themselves. That makes it very difficult for you to bring the average down. Nobody should have an average finishing position that's sort of almost around where they finish in the championship, unless you are Roberts, who has just got a bit faster again there with a 202.2, all the twos nearly on the top of the standings, but. It's maybe a little. I would expect something around 10th maybe from Watson, but yeah, just outside of that in his average.
Yeah, and the other part that I'm not exactly au fait with in terms of the race rules is do drop round finishing positions count towards that average, or do they get removed? Because that introduces a whole other variable that I sincerely hope race control are ready for if it comes to that. I'm pretty sure that our good friend Jimmy is up in the race control room right now, just silently throwing curses our way and praying that we haven't set him up for a very long night of calculations here.
Also, if not, not even if not, what happens to Watson's finishing position today? Does he get, does that just not count towards the average? Does he get scored with effectively what would have been last place if he was here? Don't know. So, let's just hope that Tristan McLaren doesn't finish 7th. I think that's my main wish from this next hour or so, because
we either want him in 6th or in 8th, but not in 7th is what we're going for here. We don't want that type of position. We want a really definitive answer tonight, please, Tristan. That's not too much to ask for.
Nice. We've had championships separated by 1 point in the past, by the way, in FDL last season in the Super Formula Lights. So if they do well to get be the closest ever finish in 2025, but yeah, it's going to have to be better for McLaren. Of course, his averaging finishing position is just a little bit worse, but the reason I've got all those questions is because we don't know the final average, because the last race hasn't happened yet, and so that brings in a whole load of complications, especially because McLaren can bring his average finishing position down and also not win on the same day, if you see what I mean. He's got that gap between 14th place and 7th place rather, where he can bring that average right down, but also not win the championship definitively on points. So that's going to make things even more complicated as well. One thing that is running in his favour though, and he's currently 11th, is Tristan McLaren in this qualifying session, running. I would have thought he'd be running with his teammates actually in Everything Simulate Racing, but there's Tom Donoghue, one of his teammates, not helping him, so they're not running together. There's less people here tonight, that's immediately clear. 17 drivers on the grid for this final race of the season, and that is a bit of a help because certainly helping Benji Roberts, because as you mentioned earlier, he's just got to start the race and then he'll be champion of the gold class. But Tristan McLaren has got less drivers to overcome in this race to finish in 7th, which is not a place he's regularly been finishing so far, but he's got less competitors for that place here on that occasion, and that does play into his hands just a little bit.
It absolutely does, and you can see from the qualifying time that he's actually not that far off the pace to potentially be challenging for that. Parks, on the other hand, is probably going to have to work a little bit harder if he wants to try and make that 6th spot and force a tie for the top of silver. So I hope he's holding back a little bit for the main race, just to throw us off, because he's a decent chunk of time off the pace now. He needs to improve by 7 or 8 tenths really, and then be consistent at that sort of pace to be able to get up to where he'll need to be. Chris McLaren, though, you're right. He's not too far off it at the moment, and at this sort of pace that he's running, it shouldn't take a great deal of mistakes from drivers ahead to really put him in with a shot. I am a little curious as to what happens to his average finishing position if he finishes right on 7th tonight, whether that'll be enough to boost him over the line or not. I suspect it won't be, but we'll have to do some quick maths on that if it does come to pass over the 45 minutes of tonight's main race.
Yeah, and again, we'll have to get that question about Watson's average and what happens to that because he's not here. Have to get word on that. I would suspect it just doesn't count along with the average, to be honest, because surely you can't be marked against the race you weren't here for.
Yeah, I think so. Jimmy Peacock, you're usually listening in on the stream. Where are you, mate? Give us a hobby and let us know in the comments what happens to drop rounds or races that you don't attend. Do they impact your average finishing position for the purposes of that calculation? I don't know about you, Ewan, but I'm actually a little concerned we might be faced with having to do these maths at the end of tonight. It's going to be a very close thing for Silver.
I suspect so. There's not any further. What would you say? There's no further lines in the rule book that says anything else. So that's why we're just speculating for the moment. I'll just work out that question you had there about whether McLaren finishes 7th tonight as Ackland goes over the line there to finish session 14th, or at least I think we'll finish session 14th. Todd Parks just moves up to 15th. And the reason, by the way, why we're not talking as much about Todd Parks, despite the fact he is involved in the championship fight, is because he's a further 5 points behind. We probably should give him a little bit of a shout because he is in with just as much of a chance, you'd say, as Tristan McLaren.
Not impossible at all.
He could finish 6th tonight, Parks. Tristan McLaren 7th, and then they'd all three of them be tied on points. So, let's really hope that doesn't happen because we could have a three-way tie at the end of tonight. It's just the way that the points work. There's pretty big gaps up towards the top of the stand at the top of these races in between individual positions, and so normally, as I say, the closest we've ever had is just 1 point, and in the previous two Super Formula Lights Championship finales, including on Tuesday, we've had a situation where it's actually been almost impossible for the two drivers to tie, such as the way that they've worked and the differences in the points gaps, but that's certainly not the case here. As 15 minutes elapses, Oisin Colangelo goes over the line, no improvement there, so they're all going to be queuing up the Max Boost cars, but they're going to be behind Benjamin Roberts, who takes yet another pole.
Yeah, it is going to be a very, very tough one for any of these drivers to really challenge tonight. Ben Roberts is here. He's showing up. There's still a chance that he'll drop out of this, but I dare say that we're going to see another fairly dominant performance from Roberts. Colangelo, this is the thing. It's iRacing doing iRacing things to us again. I could have sworn that on feature races, it would drop. Jimmy Peacock, you're meant to be listening in, mate. What are you doing? Race controlling or something? I would have sworn that it was the main event races where qualifying will kick you out right on the time, but. It must be the heat races, and I'm going to have to start writing this down, Ewan, because every week it gets me.
I know, yeah. And every league is different as well. I think maybe I've said this the other week. Maybe I said it on another league. I can't remember. But it's different for every league. I prefer this way, to be honest, leaving the guys out after the time has elapsed.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. It's how real life works, so I think it should work here as well. But anyway, Tristan McLaren will get that little bit of a draft on the way towards the line here from Tom Donahue. That's not McLaren, sorry. That's another Everything Simulated driver. Angus Milne, that is, behind Tom Donahue. McLaren rather left on his own, and he's going to come into pit lane. He'll be 11th. By the way, I did do the maths. McLaren's average would only come down to 14th. Overall, if indeed they are further tied at the end of the day. Probably should have been able to work that out in my head, but there you go. Todd Parks as well. So that's the situation. Anyway, the final round of the F4 Championship starting grid will look like this, with Benjamin Roberts on the pole, ahead of Kane Ryder. Oisin Colangelo and Madeleine McKee will share an all-team Max Boost row 2. Mark Heppel and Hayden Millington will be on row 3, ahead of Thomas Hinds, looking for third in the championship tonight, although he's got places to make up over Kane Ryder. Vaughan Ryder alongside him, with Ben Ryder, lots of them, silver class pole position in In ninth, and it's Daniel Byrne who is rounding out the top 10. Tristan McLaren then, importantly, starts 11th. He's just ahead of Todd Parks in 15th. Between them, Tom Donahue, Angus Milne and Dan Ackland. James Antris and Seth Burkhart's round out the field. Burkhart's only getting into the session quite late, and he did do a few laps, but he didn't get a time, so he starts at the back of the field. Only 17 in the field, which is, as I say, bad news from Watson, really. Less positions for McLaren and Parks to make up. Although they've both got to be knocking on the door of a top 7 overall if they're going to get there in time for the end of the day and overhaul that disadvantage that they've got to Alexia Watson. I can tell you that Tristan McLaren is the only driver to have finished in the top 7 out of the 2 of them so far, and that's only on one occasion. Was quite recently at Fuji, but he would have to be doing something that really hasn't done very often this season if he's going to overhaul this disadvantage he's got.
Yeah, it really is a big ask, isn't it? And it does sound from your calculations like he's going to need a 6th place to lock it up, which, it's only one extra position, but that can be a huge battle, particularly when you consider even in a smaller field, you have quite a few gold class drivers here tonight who will really put him absolutely under pressure if he does expect to make it up into the midpoint of that top 10. So I don't envy him having to try and make that effort here tonight.
Well, the drivers are onto the grid now and we're ready. As the lights are just being held for the moment. And underway they are. Underway for the final race of the season here at Suzuka. And in towards turn number 1, Benjamin Roberts, as he has done throughout most of this season so far, leads the field, a clean field through turn number 1 with Team Max Boost queuing up in behind, ready to take his place in a few moments' time. It's going to be a draft-heavy circuit. Oh, as Tom Parks has already got a meatball. Is that the end of his championship fight in the silver class already through turn number 1?
Yeah, not the start that he would have been looking for, I'm sure. We'll go back and have a look at that once we do get a little further into this race. But Roberts immediately out in front and looking to start to set up a fairly commanding position if he can. To come through Degner for the first time. The field already starting to just settle in. There's a lot of track for a reasonably small field here tonight. So they've got plenty of time to just position themselves and hopefully get into a nice little rhythm for the rest of this 45 minutes. Parks and Milne, though, not the position that they wanted to be in before the midpoint of the first lap, both with meatball flags, and that will certainly set back their efforts here tonight.
Well, now you can see the faster end of the circuit. Todd Parks is right at the very end of the group. Clearly doesn't have much damage, but just has enough for him to get a meatball. Of course, if he can drive it back and take his fast repair along with a bit of fuel, then you're not out of it here. 2 stops are made in these 45-minute races these days, and even when we were only making 1 stop, you can make it to the, or you could make it to the end from the start. So yeah, you can still do the same strategy as everybody else and not lose too much time. If Parks wants to, he might hang around at the back for the first 3 laps actually, until he's forced to come in with that meatball and then have to come into pit lane. You don't ideally want to come in lap 1, even though it is possible, as Roberts comes in lap 1. Just as I say that, Roberts is in. So he is, the reason why you don't want to do it, by the way, is because you narrow down your strategy loads. But Roberts decides that he doesn't want to head this group for ages. He's just going to come straight in.
Has he decided to make this last session one where he just demonstrates what he's shown us all season and comes from the back of the pack at lap 1 to still take the win? Is that what this is about? That's a very odd choice. It certainly doesn't make a lot of sense to me from a track position. Wow. It's just such a strange choice. It doesn't align with any sort of fueling decisions that I could wrap my head around there, Ewan. But I'm sure we'll see it play out in due course.
Yeah, we will. I mean, he's got clean air, 15 seconds back from the rest of the field, and these guys obviously haven't. But their teammates 1, 2, and 3 at the moment. Ryder Colangelo and McGee. So you'd imagine they will work together. We'll just wait and see, because if they don't work together quite as well, and and the clear air turns out to be a better idea, then it could be trouble for those three, and we'll see if any of them respond. I would be tempted to at least send one of them back there. It's Team Max Boost driver. It's going to have to be one of the front three. Can't be somebody a bit further down from Max Boost, because they'd come out way behind Benjamin Roberts at this stage already. As you can see, the first signs of a split in the group happening. Mark Heppel seeing nearly a second open up, and there you go, it is a second. And Thomas Hinz has got to get around as he's battling away, of course, for third place in the Drivers' Championship here this afternoon, trying to overtake Kane Rider, who is leading this race. So Hinz has got to get into that front group somehow.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get held up for too long here. Thankfully, Heppel doesn't place. Okay, so Hinz is making the same kind of call. This is really interesting. Making the same kind of decision to get out of this pack and get into the very, very clean air. Is there something we don't know that's going on with Suzuka here tonight? Is there some reason why you wouldn't want the draft available to you in some of these really long, fast corners and straights that Suzuka gives to you? That's two of the most unexpected pit stops that I think I've seen all season in any league that I've been covering.
I mean, the first stint isn't going to be that long anyway. Can be extended to lap 8. We learned, so it's not that far into the race really. But yeah, it is a bit of a puzzling one. 2:02.8 from Kane Rider last time round, but obviously we don't have a representative time from Ben Roberts yet, who will come across the line in another 2 minutes or so, and we'll start to have our answer. If he's quicker in that clear air than these guys out front, then you know, it's going to be trouble for the Max Boost drivers, and the race might already be gone because of the gap that Roberts would have as we ride on board with Tristan McLaren. He's in 8th place, but you've got to remember that 3 pro drivers have already been in, so this is slightly false at the moment. 11th place at worst, though, for him, and he's not that far away. I know Alexei Watson's probably doing something else at the moment because he's not here, but if he was watching this, he'd be chewing through his fingernails at the moment, I would suspect.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because this is all of a sudden, and again, pre-pit stops for sure, but this is a lot closer to the 6th place that McLaren needs than I think either of us were really expecting to be quite so quickly in effectively the first 5 minutes of this race. Very, very
Let's
strange.
see if anybody responds here. Sorry. Let's see if someone responds, because we've seen quite a few gold class pit stops already as McLaren gets very close to Vaughan Ryder through the chicane here. No pit stops here from these front guys. So what is the lap time going to be? We're in the mid 2:02s at best. Colangelo 2:02.6. Wonder whether it's worth putting her in the lead actually, but no, they won't. And Kane Rider continues to lead just for the moment. Personal best all the way down pretty much for that front group again. But what about Benjamin Roberts? Is he going quicker on his own? He's certainly catching the back end of the group. What about the field itself? Yes, he is. 2:02.4. He sets the best lap of the race so far while in clean air. That says it all. That's why he wants to be on his own.
The strange thing is, and look, I suppose the strategy here is to just avoid giving a toe to anyone behind him, but had already opened up really enough of a gap that I don't think it would have been too long before he would have broken that toe anyway. So I'm still a little puzzled by it. He's obviously quicker, but he's always quicker out in front and has been all season. I can't quite wrap my head around what it is exactly that makes this strategy the right call, but it may not be as deep as I'm thinking it is. Let's go back and take a look at the incident on lap 1 with Angus Milne and see just what's happened here as we get on into it.
This is right in the back of the pack, really, for Angus Milne, who's struggled in qualifying, and there it is, side-to-side contact with Todd Parks. And Milne couldn't drive it back. You can see that front right tyre slightly dislodged. Unfortunately for Parks to get a meatball off of that, it's kind of forced his hand as far as strategy is concerned. He wouldn't have wanted to come in a lap 1, but he was really faced with no other choice, as we've got big trouble here for Kane Rider, who's missing from this front group. And who else was with them there in 4th place, who seems to have got back? I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a couple of side of spoon. It is such a deadly curve there. In literally any car you can think of, any race you've ever seen at Suzuka, somebody spins around through either that curve or that one there on the very exit of the corner. It's just not a couple of curves you want to go over consistently really. You are dicing with danger a little bit when you go over those. And then Antros finds out and drops behind Burkhardt, and not that far in front of Benjamin Roberts, who is going to hope that those guys pit before he catches them, because they might only be halfway through their first stint of the race.
We'll take a look at in front though, because here is Colangelo and McGee starting to open up just a little more of a gap back to Millington with every corner that comes through, and certainly not going to be providing any assistance to their teammate Kane Ryder back there as he makes the pass up the inside of Millington. Can Millington tack back on in time though as they get towards the Spoon corner? This corner is beautiful in an open wheel with some downforce. I tell you what, it is a lot of work in anything that isn't rather sticky to the track, because it is a strange radius on it. Really have to be on your toes the whole way through. Made it a little bit easier here by the fact that you're being pushed down at reasonable speed all the way through it in these cars, and Kane Ryder taking it fairly comfortably. Millington though finds himself in a pretty comfy position to just get a bit of a tow along, and maybe even just hoping that the front two are dropping the pace a little here to try and bring Kane Ryder back into the fold. We'll see what the lap times look like as they make their way across the line here. We're looking for 202 somethings if they're at full pace, and they're dead on 203. Ooh. So 3 or 4 tenths off there. It's not super quick. We'll take a look at the inside here, and we've got a bit of a battle here for Daniel Byrne from Cullen's Motorsport, trying desperately to get past Mark Heppel. Does not want to be caught up behind him for too long. A bit of a dive to the inside. There's not a lot of room here through these S's, and wisely I think Byrne dropping in behind again, and we'll set up for a better attempt at a nicer corner.
As Tristan McLaren stays ahead of Tom Donoghue there. There was a bit of side-by-side there between the teammates briefly at the back of the group, but this is all being created now by this battle for 5th place in the field. And Millington got a redress there from race control in the last couple of minutes. Not sure whether that was on Kane Ryder or somebody in this group. I guess it's Kane Ryder, and he's already done it in the last couple of moments. Dewey Peacock wasn't quite sure, by the way, what we were talking about, asking about earlier on. We were asking Dewey what happened.
What we were trying to work out either, Ewan, to be honest.
It's trying to work out what happens to Watson's average as he misses a race here. I would imagine it doesn't change, and that just doesn't count towards the average as Byrne and Heppel go side by side briefly. Heppel will keep that place on the inside there at Spoon. Yeah, I would imagine it. Oh, that's a big slide from Heppel, and now they're really all queuing up together. So I imagine it wouldn't change, the average wouldn't count towards the thing, because otherwise the whole point of it doesn't really work. As 3 wide, they thankfully make it just 2 into 130R, and Byrne on the very outside there was a bit too wide really. And here comes Tristan McLaren, steaming down the inside. He goes through on Paul Ryder, and he is now in 7th place.
1 step closer, just needs to get past Daniel Byrne, and he'll want to get moving to make that happen. We see Tom Donoghue coming into the pits behind, so about where we would have expected the pit stops to start, I think, is here, 6 laps in. A lot of movement down the straight as Heppel tries desperately to throw Byrne off that toe. McLaren quite content to just sit in and bring Vaughan Ryder with him. Byrne really starting to feel like he's being held up by the look of the way he's throwing this F4 car around. Trying everything he can to just disrupt Heppel's concentration and show himself in the mirrors a little bit here. Heppel, to his credit, holding on very, very nicely and not responding in too drastic a way at all.
Absolutely. They've just completed lap 6, and so the next couple of laps we'll see pit stops for everybody here. Quite a difficult pit entry, don't forget, very narrow, and the braking zone for it is on the curve through that final corner, so I would want to be leading onto it anyway, and that's where Heppel is ahead of Daniel Byrne and Tristan McLaren in the group. Ben Ryder at the back end of this, as Team Max Booth start to spread themselves across the field a little bit more than what they were. In the threes last time round for the leaders. Benjamin Roberts been consistently in the 202s, so you'd imagine he will be in the lead at the moment, as again Heppel defends from Byrne into Spoon Curve, and it's going to be Tristan McLaren here, the one in third place, so you can get the slipstream on both of them this time.
Yeah, has to try and get the power down as quickly as he can on the way out to get anywhere close by the time he gets to 130R. It's a long run down towards it. Side by side though, Byrne's going the outside as Heppel defends the inside for the entry. Does he have the grip around the outside of 130R? There's not a lot out there, and this opens the door for McLaren. Byrne moves straight back across, shuts the door in McLaren's face, and we're right back where we started the last lap in the end. As the front 2, 3, 4 come in, as do the following group of cars. I wasn't expecting everyone to dive in like this at once, but absolute chaos at the pit entry.
Was that contact there for Byrne? I wonder whether he ran into Heppel there. And he's running side by side with him now. In our notes it said can get to like 8, which suggests to me that you'd have to save a bit of fuel to get there, but it is possible. Colangelo leads them off the pit lane, but Roberts is miles out in front. That just underlines this season, doesn't it? Over 4 seconds ahead. Byrne and Heppel are side by side out of the pit stop phase, and Byrne is quicker through the stop, so gets in front of Heppel. McLaren with a long stop there. That wasn't ideal. Nearly 7 seconds in the box from him, and he drops to 12th. Most of that work has been undone.
The good news for McLaren though is that he does have his teammate in Tom Donahoe right in front of him, so that does provide a little bit of opportunity for him to try and just get a bit of an assistance here to get past Ryder and Ackland and start to charge back towards that all-important 6th place that he is chasing. Thomas Hinz has come out of it all fairly well, you'd have to say. He's got Kane Ryder still with him, but finds himself up into 5th now, behind Hayden Millington. Speaking of which, I've been having a look here. I'm just trying to figure out exactly which issue Millington did get that feedback from race control on. A couple of moments with Kane Ryder, it looks like, all through this section coming into the hairpin. We'll keep an eye on Millington here. You can see very, very tight on the exit. Not especially problematic there. But they were side by side for a long, long time, and you always run the risk in Formula cars when you do run side by side of someone just misjudging the amount of room, and there it is. Millington just squeezes a little bit wide on the entry into Spoon, and Ryder, to his credit, responded in about the best way that he could by taking it off the track just enough to keep himself pointed in the right direction.
The advantage of having that on the outside of Spoon Curve there, but yeah, I don't know. That seems slightly harsh on Millington, really, but there you go. Maybe from a different angle he was coming across, and of course race control will have looked at it a lot more deeply than we have, as always. But yeah, that was the incident I would suspect that many had to redress the place. He's actually retaken the place since letting him back through again, so all is fine there. As the Donoghue here looks on the inside of Dan Ackland on the way down towards turn 1. This will be side by side right in front of Justin McLaren, which is not particularly ideal, I've got to say.
That said, McLaren looks like he's trying to follow through here, has to give back the room. He almost squeezed through and was able to hold Ackland out wide and follow Donoghue through, but it hasn't happened on this occasion. I don't know that Donahoe's doing a great deal of trying to tow McLaren at the moment. Probably just caught up in his own little battle here with Ryder and Ackland more than anything.
I couldn't do it there, did McLaren, so yeah, I don't think there's too much teamwork going on here for the Everything Simulated drivers, but McLaren needs another 6 places here, and the problem for him is that most of these drivers, as he looks down the inside here, most of them are in groups at the moment, of course him included, in 12th at the moment, but that group for 4th place is just going to continue to get further and further away the longer he spends in this group further down.
Yeah, absolutely will. Todd Parks just having a bit of a moment through Spoon Curve, just giving a little bit too much ask of the rear tyres there, and ends up letting James Ambles back through, and that finds him very much towards the back of the pack, which I have to say, barring a miracle, makes it pretty unlikely we're going to see a three-way tie in the silver class tonight.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately. Would have been great to see, wouldn't it, really? But sadly not. It's not going to happen. Doesn't look like, as Thomas Hinds loses a place to Kane Ryder. With Kane Ryder so far up the field, it's looking difficult for Hinds to overhaul that disadvantage as McLaren goes down the inside of Ackland, round the outside through the second part, and that's exactly the kind of move that Tristan McLaren needs to make. He's up to 11th.
One more place recovered. A little more work to do yet. But that long stop may just come in handy later. He did spend quite a bit more time in the pit than anyone else in the field, and you'd have to think he's counting on a very, very short second stop to get him home.
Well, yeah, that has to be the hope, but I mean, we don't normally see fuel loads played with too much in this series, to be honest. So I suspect it was just a mistake and longer stop from Tristan McLaren there that has really cost him quite dear in this race. But you know, I don't know, but I suspect that because in that situation where McLaren does have more fuel on board, then everybody else has taken a short stop of some description, which I think is very unusual for a series. But maybe that is happening, and that's certainly what McLaren's going to be hoping here. If he's lost those few seconds first time round, he'll gain them back again in the second stop.
Yeah, and there's also the possibility that, in the unlikely event of a safety car here at Suzuka, maybe there's a strategy that he's angling to be set up for in that case. But I'm running the numbers, in my head and trying to come up with anything that stands out as a reason for doing that longer stop first up. I don't have it. Maybe you're on the money. Maybe it is just an error in calculation or an error in setup for the entry to that pit stop, and the extra time spent there was purely McLaren winding that fuel number right back desperately in his black box settings as he sat and realised what was happening.
Well, it's very puzzling, I've got to say, as they now go in towards 130R again. These guys, he's putting him in a battle for ninth here. Donoghue is going to have to get past Vaughan Ryder, punch that hole ahead to allow his teammate through as well, maybe. As they come onto the front straight now into the slipstream. Donoghue very close behind Vaughan Ryder now over the start finish line. He's going to look to the left hand side of the road. It will be as Parks comes in for the first final stop of the season. Outside line for Donoghue, right round the outside. Great move if he can make it stick here. Has he gone a bit wide through the second part? Maybe. And yeah, he has to tuck back in again because Ryder is clear. And again, this is just slowing the group down. It's hurting Justin McLaren's race at the moment as he tries to gain these positions. Donoghue has to work his way past here and stop this group from slowing down so much, because that's effectively what's happening here.
Dan Ackland was out of the slipstream down the straight, and for all money you would have counted him out of being able to catch up with these guys, but that little battle's brought him right back into it. It doesn't take a lot in these F4s to lose a chunk of time when you end up going side by side through turns. And sure, you can go around the outside, you've got the grip to do it, but it does cost both of you a lot of pace.
Yeah. Well, they are losing time to those up ahead here. McLaren needs to be in that group for fourth place. He needs to be in this group effectively. Millington, Kane Ryder and Thomas Hinds. With Kane Ryder, by the way, running in the top 6 positions, it's very unlikely, in fact impossible, that Thomas Hinds is going to be able to take that place away from Kane Ryder. Just needs 6th place or better. And you see what I mean about the fact it's not normally a problem, this tie on points, because Hinds and Kane Ryder, especially if they finish up towards the front, can't actually tie on points. So that's positive news for us, I would say, at the start of the day. Oh, that was a look, wasn't it, from Kane Ryder? He's not going to be able to get through, as Benjamin Roberts has to come in. Final stop of the season for him with just over 22 minutes to go.
Battle in ninth continues. All 4 of these drivers really being slowed down significantly as they keep charging at each other. And we've really got 2 individual battles going on here. McLaren's doing everything he can to hold Ackland off behind, while Donoghue does everything he can to get ahead of Ryder out in front, and none of them really benefiting from it too much at the moment. Meanwhile, up the front, Kane Ryder under huge attack from Millington and Hinds for third now that Roberts has gone in for his second stop. Colangelo and McGee quite comfortably, 2.5 seconds up the road and just cruising along at this stage.
Absolutely. As Ryder, Millington and Hinds continue on with their battle for now third place in the field. Hinds just hanging back at the moment. It's going to be a consolidation of this position, which is the same position, by the way. He finished in the Super Formula Lights Championship. Excuse me.
Got to give him points for consistency then, don't we?
Well, I was just about to mention, if you're sort of taking again, talking about averages, an average score across the two championships of those who are doing both, then I think Thomas Hinds would have the best. Although there's a few others around who would be challenging him in those stakes. So it's pretty impressive. Those cars, Super Formula Lights and F4s, are kind of similar-ish, but it's still impressive to be up the front in two championships in the same series. Of course, it's 2 races a week to practice for rather than 1 in different cars, and most of weeks different circuits other than when we went to Fuji together. It's very impressive. Oh no! Donoghue very nearly crashes, and McLaren, his teammate, very nearly crashed into him. That was so close.
Did well to get it lined back up again. This is going to put McLaren under immense pressure from Ackland, though, as he gets up the inside on the way into 130. McLaren just doesn't have the pace. He's not going to be able to hold it into the Casio triangle. And Ackland gets out in front. Now McLaren's just going to want to tack on here and try and make some inroads back into the lead that Vaughan Ryder's starting to build up. Just McLaren, I'm sure at this stage, can feel his chances slipping away. Still 20 minutes to go, but the gap is starting to get much, much further. Kane Ryder is into the wall.
Oh, no! Huge into turn 1. Kane Ryder off into the wall. Tristan McLaren makes up another place, so this is starting to look a bit better for him. Oh no, it's not quite over yet, and he goes wide. Oh, McLaren goes wide, and Ackland and Roberts go straight back through again. Although, having said that, Roberts has made his final stop, so he doesn't need to worry about him too much. He's going to finish behind Roberts whatever happens, but Kane Ryder's in the wall with a meatball. Suddenly, Thomas Hinds does have a chance of making up that disadvantage he has in the championship to Kane Ryder, who has to tow back to pit lane.
You'd have to think that might just be enough.
Well, Hinds would need 4th with him in 16th. He'd need to finish 4th, so that was what he was battling for Millington with. So yes, it's put it right into focus now for Hinds.
At this point, he needs to really consider whether he tries to push for 3rd or if he's more concerned about keeping people off the back, as Donoghue again has some issues. Just really struggling to get it pulled up. I'm not sure what's happened with the tyres or whether he's just trying to get them back into 10th after that earlier slide, but seems to really be struggling to keep them from locking up right now as he battles it out back in 12th, which is a long way down from what we've seen Tom racing in most of this season.
Yeah, it's getting down to it's right behind him. Was having spun earlier at Spoon Curve, and now he's getting alongside on the corner on the straight just afterwards. This is what happened to Kane Ryder. Doesn't have anybody particularly close, although Millington's closing there. Into turn 1. Oh, wide on that curve.
That's a wheel disconnect.
Oh no,
that's a wheel disconnect.
Is a wheel disconnect.
Yeah, Jimmy's absolutely spot on in the chat. You can see the wheels flicked immediately to the left, and that is 100% characteristic of what happens every single time we see the wheel disconnect. Watch the hands here. You'll see the wheel disconnect, full left lock, and into the wall he goes.
And likely no throttle or brake input able to be made. It's very rare that you see the pedals working and the steering wheel not. So couldn't stop himself, couldn't slam on the brakes in time, because he probably would have been able to stop himself if he'd have reacted, which I'm sure he would have done. These drivers are quite good at that kind of thing. That's what racing is, after all. And yeah, it's just a case of the brakes wouldn't have worked either. So nothing that Kane Ryder could have done there. And now he's relying on the likes of Hayden Millington to keep Thomas Hinds where he was running. Hinds has made his final stop of the season, by the way. And that's why he's now running in 12th. So we'll wait for those final stops to happen before we start to comment too much. As Vaughan Ryder here is on the defensive from Benjamin Roberts, doing a bit of a job for his teammates.
Yeah, I think that's what Ryder has to do here, and he's going to have to just to try everything he can to hold Roberts up, which is a mammoth task for any driver in this field, particularly on a track that does give Roberts so many options to try and put a move on. So Ryder's going to have to be on his game and really position that car to make the decisions as difficult as possible for Roberts with each and every turn. But regardless of that, you can see the impact here that the slipstream is already having as Roberts closes the gap from 0.2 down to 0.1, still falling. Roberts is going to go to the inside here at 130R. Can Ryder hold it? I think this is going to be the place for Roberts. But Ryder's still alongside. He's going to push him all the way deep into the Casio chicane and takes the place back. That's fantastic driving from Vaughan Ryder to make life just that little more difficult for Ben Roberts.
He's got a better exit though as Roberts here, and still the teammates out front are waiting to make their stop, and Roberts has got to the inside now. He's almost tricked Vaughan Ryder into thinking that he was just settling for the outside there, and just as he thought that, he switches to the inside. Ryder's going to squeeze him as much as possible into turn one as well, so he will. Oh, and he's wide there, Roberts. Vaughan Ryder tries to come back up the inside here, and he might have a chance. Oh, Roberts there, just a mistake for Pounce the first time tonight, and now he gets through properly. Oh no, contact. Tristan McLaren tries to follow through, and that was important for him, but he couldn't quite do it there. So Roberts is through. The last time round, by the way, Roberts did a 2:04.4. That was 1.4 slower than his teammates, so it was working there for the Max Boost drivers, but obviously it comes to an end now.
Yeah, good work from Vaughan Ryder. Can't take anything away from him there. You're trying to hold up someone who has been just so much significantly quicker than everyone else in the field all season. To make a 1 second impact on his pace is nothing short of supreme driving from Vaughan Ryder. Just enough work to make life difficult for Roberts. Get an extra second out of that lap to give Colangelo and McGee a little bit more breathing room as they start to think about their second stop, which can't be too far away as we cross the half-hour mark.
No, it can't be. And the lap count at 15 now, so they did 7 laps off the start. That's not unexpected. That would have got them to about I reckon they'll be able to do one more, maybe 2 more at the end of this one if they want to, but maybe not. The pit window that we've got is from lap 15 to 18, which seems to be the limit, but that might not come true because that is quite a long way away at the moment. This is Byrne, Millington and Heppel, not in that order, as Byrne comes in from the front of the group, so that is pit stop for him. Heppel and Millington continue on. The field very shaken up at the moment because of these pit stops. Roughly half of the field have made them the second stop, and roughly half of them haven't, as Roberts again lost time to Colangelo and McGee that time round. To be honest, if I was the Max Boost drivers out front, I would have been in that time, because this is the closest it's ever going to be for them actually getting the slipstream of Roberts.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a decent advantage. You'd hope there's been some comms there from Vaughan Ryder to say, hey, look, Ben Roberts has gotten past. You need to think about pitting and taking full advantage of that extra second you've now got up your sleeve. A second doesn't sound like much, but you'll take every tenth you can get when it comes to Ben Roberts.
Another place game for Kane Ryder, as Seth Burkhardt makes quite a long stop at the moment. Over 2 minutes in the box for him, so that extra position game means that Hinds has to finish 1 more position up the field as well. He has to now finish in 3rd place, although Byrne has come out behind him, so that suggests that all of these 2 as well are going to be behind him as well. I think that means Thomas Hinds might be 3rd anyway. Yeah, he's certainly 2nd of those who have 2 stops at, well, I guess Colangelo and McGee as well, haven't they? So maybe it's going to be 4th at the moment for Hinds, but yeah, he's close. He's in the region at the moment, and Kane Ryder, of course, helpless to stop that.
Yeah, really unfortunate that it comes down to a mechanical failure, effectively, that has taken that from Kane Ryder. It's not all over yet. Thomas has a lot of work to do still in this last 10, 12 minutes of this race. So I wouldn't be completely forlorn if I was in Ryder's position, but it does open up a very juicy opportunity. Millington now looking to the inside. Is he going to get there under brakes? Does get through on Heppel. Makes it look easy in the end.
It looked pretty easy. And Millington gets himself into that third place, and they continue on again. So, see whether I was right about lap 17 being the realistic barrier for these guys. But Tristan McLaren has got to get through on Vaughan Ryder as quickly as he can now. This is starting to cost him. And he needs to finish 6th overall, never mind running 6th in the race right now. He's even struggling to manage that outside line at turn 1. He's avoided that curve nicely, and he'll be on the inside for the first part of the esses, but you've got to be really careful. Now he sweeps around there though, and he should be clear, so he's into 6th place. As it stands, he's in championship winning position, but of course he has to make another stop.
You'd have to think that McLaren is praying for a few errors up front to just give him a little bit more track position, and perhaps even a few errors behind to drag some of those who have already done their 2 stops just a little further back to increase his chances here. He's in a good spot, but not enough of a distance right now. Quick look down the fields. He's going to want to come out somewhere around probably James Antwis. I mean, as it stands right now, at least. And he'd still be a good 7 seconds behind that, I'd think, with a 25 to 30 second stop. So, look, let's hope that long 7-second pit box time on his first stop is really going to cut down his second stop time, because he needs every second that he can get at this stage.
Yeah, he absolutely does need it. I have my doubts, as I've already said, but he absolutely needs this shorter stop at the end here. The guys who have stopped second time round on a couple of occasions were a little bit longer than they were before. The likes of Antris and Donoghue spent over 6 seconds in the box, which is longer than what anybody else other than McLaren managed last time, as Colangelo is into the pit lane. This is the race now, really. I would have been in a couple of laps ago if I was Colangelo, because that's when Roberts was being slowed down so expertly by her teammates, but it's decided that now is the moment. Just less than 10 minutes to go in the season. Are we going to get a battle for the final race win of the season or not? Well, there's Benjamin Roberts already passed before Colangelo's even rolling.
Colangelo, you'll see just in the background getting out of the pits now. That is a significant gap, and not one that I expect Colangelo's going to be able to make up. We're talking, 6.5 seconds by the time she gets up to pace, which is a huge amount of time to be already starting behind Ben Roberts. I think Colangelo will have to expect this one, as we see a battle coming out of the pits for McLaren and Ryder.
Oh, that was really close. McLaren was quicker in the box that time than Ryder, but still not clear into the first corner. Only 4.5 seconds in the box, by the way, so that was a bit better from Tristan McLaren, and he's up to 9th. So it's a big gap ahead, isn't it? But it's not over yet. Ben Ryder is yet to come in, so that's one position. Mark Heppel's going to be too far in front, although he will be with Millington, so he's going to have to hope. He'll be up to 8th here, Will McLaren, and he'll have to hope that the two of them battle away amongst themselves, because otherwise he is not quite going to make it.
Take a look at that hex. It just squeezes in front. And not a great deal in it, but it was enough in the end to get McLaren ahead.
Only just.
Only just.
Very, very close indeed. And he's now only mere points away from overtaking Watson. Unfortunately for Todd Parks, tonight just hasn't gone his way, and that means that he's going to finish this season in 3rd place, which is very respectable in the silver class, but it is not maybe what he was hoping for at the start of the night. The likes of Halfway and Milne were not that far behind at the start of the day, but Halfway isn't here, and Milne had that issue right off the start, so no trouble there. As Heppel and McGee come in, Benjamin Roberts takes the lead with just over 7 minutes to go. 4 laps to go in this season, and it's a few laps of honour now for Benjamin Roberts, who's going to win yet again.
I can't say it's unexpected at this point, Ewan, given what we've seen so far this season. I can only implore race control to consider weight penalties for that man next season, because I don't know what else is going to stop him.
Well, yeah, it might be the only thing. As Ben Ryder sits on pit lane, that's going to allow Tristan McLaren to the lead here. He's really got to shake off Vaughan Ryder first before anything else. Heppel's quite a long way behind Millington, but McLaren's got to overtake both of them. One more position to tie, 2 more positions to win. Of course, a tie would not be enough for Tristan McLaren as things stand. 8th place would give him just 4 points behind Watson. It would be a remarkable end to the season, but perhaps it will feel closer in the history books than maybe it has on the night.
Yeah, I'm not going to count him out yet, but the time is very quickly ticking away, and 4.5 seconds to make up on Mark Heppel to get the tie, and realistically another 4 seconds beyond that to Millington looks incredibly unlikely, despite McLaren throwing everything he had at it. It's just been slowed down too much in traffic throughout most of the first half of this race, and it's unfortunately going to be it's still going to be a podium finish for him, so I can't argue with that. But that is great news for Alexi Watson, of course, who I think has done more than enough to deserve the silver title, despite not making it here to the final race.
And don't forget, it's effectively done one less race, which is pretty remarkable, really. Oh, whoa, very wide from McLaren there, and Vaughan Ryder goes down the inside. That's really close between the two of them. And this is only going to invite others into the party now as Antris and Ackland get close. Tom Donahue will not be far away either. He's got a better exit there as McLaren because he's on the outside, but he's under a lot of pressure here. He has to hope for trouble up in front now because he's not going to do the catching on his own with this amount of time remaining and this kind of battle behind him. Vaughan Ryder again looks to the outside, super late on the brakes. If he pulls that up in time, oh, well, that's spectacular. How has he pulled that up in time? He gets in front of Tristan McLaren. Antris is now in there as well. He's on the grass trying to get alongside. McLaren doesn't let him. He wants that 16 from Vaughan Ryder. He wants the inside as well, but there's a pit wall there. Oh, and they're going to go 3 wide, are they? In towards turn number 1. Tristan McLaren through the middle. Antris just backs away. Outside line for McLaren. He's got to get this place. Oh, that's a great move as well from him. 2 great moves around the outside in successive braking zones from these two, who are having a great fight to end the season.
Yeah, it's always nice to see that the battle is just as hard fought at this point of the final race as it is in, lap 1, turn 1 of race number 1 in any season. These guys never, ever stop trying for those extra couple of positions. I'm sure McLaren knows that he's out of the running for that top step, but at the moment it's a matter of pride, isn't it? He needs to take Vaughan Ryder out. Not actually off the track, mind you, but actually taking that position. And finishing ahead is now McLaren's goal for this evening. And Antwis is looking to do something similar as he gets up the inside. I wonder if Ryder's just asked too much of those tyres now. They're starting to give out on him. Very, very tight hairpin side by side with Ryder there. But Antwis gets through and now tries to catch onto the back of McLaren and pull away from Ryder to solidify that as we enter the last 4 minutes of this race.
Just 2 laps to go when Roberts gets to the line, which will be in just a moment. I actually thought that Antris and Ryder going side by side there for a brief moment would actually help McLaren get away, but it just hasn't here. And Tom Donahue's arriving now at the back of the group as well. It's not like McLaren doesn't have teammates in this race, but unfortunately Angus Milne crashed out at turn 1, and Tom Donahue has been behind McLaren for most of the race. I think that's the difference between some of these teams, isn't it, this season? The Everything Simulated guys just haven't particularly been able to help McLaren tonight.
No, they've just not been in the right sort of position at the right sort of time. We see Tom Donahue flying rather wide there out of 130R and managing to get back onto the pack here without too much trouble. But yeah, they haven't quite managed to get that same sort of flow going as a team as we've seen from the likes of Max Boost in this season. Not through lack of trying, of course, just a few things have not gone their way, and tonight no different. Angus Milne out early has been a bigger blow than perhaps we realise.
Well, absolutely. It's a silver class driver in this series, of course, is Angus Milne. Had a shot at 3rd place in the silver class this season in this final race, and has not been at too many of the rounds, but could have been a real asset to Tristan McLaren here tonight, but unfortunately for him hasn't been. Now McLaren is left on his own, leading this group around, just trying to fight for 8th place, really. As it stands, he cannot do much more than that. He's trailing Watson at the moment by just 4 points in this championship, with the next position worth 4 points. He has to make 2 overtakes, but unfortunately that position he needs is over 10 seconds ahead with Millington and Byrne.
Speaking of which, these guys still battling it out for 5th and 6th. This will be, well, just about the penultimate lap, won't it now? As Roberts comes to line, I'm sure he'll be given a white flag on the way around. Byrne and Millington, still a fair distance to go before their night is done. Here comes Roberts now.
Over the line, and he will see the white flag with 1 lap remaining. Although I don't think he's waving it, is it, the starter?
There it is.
Anyway.
For some reason, the starter here at Suzuka doesn't like to climb up into the box. He prefers... Oh, big moment. Antwis and Donahue come together.
And McLaren's got a black flag. I wonder whether that's the incident limit that he's been hit. But it's a big coming together through 130R. And side by side, meanwhile, between Byrne and Millington through into turn number 1. And Byrne will keep 5th place for the moment. McLaren continues on. He doesn't come into the pit lane, so well, we'll have to see what that black flag is actually for in these next couple of moments as he tries to re-overtake Vaughan Ryder. He's not going to manage that, but it's a big crash, unfortunately, and some of these guys are going to end the season in the pit lane. Dan Ackland there with the meatball.
No idea quite what's happened, but let's go back and take a look, because that is not the end to the night that they would all have been hoping for.
This is but the previous lap at the very beginning, is it? Oh, this is a couple of laps ago with the 3 wide moment. Very nearly. Tristan McLaren going around the outside of Vaughan Ryder to get up into the front of the group. And then they managed to get past him, Antwis and Ryder, side by side through 130R. Donahue runs... they're separate crashes. Would you believe that? That is very unusual. Donahue spins round one of them. And in the other part of shot, Antwis is spun round by Tristan McLaren.
No, I think he's just
himself.
But look at the synchronisation. I've got to give him credit for that. That's beautiful.
That is quite something. I mean, we don't see that too often, but meanwhile, Benjamin Roberts is coming round the final corner, and he's going to win again in the Everything Simulated F4 Championship. It's been a season of dominance, a season in which he's won the first 3 races in a row and the final 4 in a row, while not finishing lower than 3rd at any stage over the course of the season. He had to finish a long way down tonight. Would you believe it? The championship was still open tonight for Golds, but we knew that it was going to go to Benjamin Roberts. He is by far and away the most deserving champion here this season of this category. And he wins here at Suzuka just to underscore his dominance. As further behind, Tristan McLaren comes across the line to win the silver class race. He ends up finishing in 9th and will fall just short in the end, just 7 points short of Alexi Watson in that silver class championship battle.
I do expect that once these results come through, that we'll see McLaren drop further, because he has crossed the line with that black flag. So I don't know quite what that impact will be, but it's usually a good 20, 30, 40 seconds of penalty if that is an iRacing flag, which it appears to be. So I expect he's probably not as close as the on-track result end up looking, but hats off to Benjamin Roberts. Has done an absolutely stellar job all season and completely deserves the result here tonight.
Absolutely. Maximum run of races in a row is only 4 out of the 13 races we've had this season, if you can believe that. It doesn't seem like very many, does it really, compared to the dominance that it's felt like. But that's 11 races overall, only 2 in which he hasn't won. And as I say, 3rd place being his worst result of the season is pretty remarkable, really. And just a real underlining of just how impressive he has been over the course of this season in the Everything Simulated F4 Championship. As Kane Ryder comes over the line, that's a 15th place finish for Kane Ryder. Thomas Hinds, 6 seconds behind Madeline McGee, which is where he needed to be at the end of today to take that place overall. So that hasn't changed either. Benjamin Roberts is our champion, winning here at Suzuka ahead of Oisin Colangelo. Madeline McGee finishes on the podium for Team Max Boost, with Thomasins just missing out on third in the championship in the end there. Hayden Millington rounds out the top 5, with Daniel Byrne in 6th. Mark Heppel, Vaughan Ryder, Tom Donoghue, James Antwith then round out the top 10. You're right that Tristan McLaren was going to drop down. Ben Ryder is the silver class winner in that case, with Dan Ackland the first driver over a minute off the win. Todd Parks gets ahead of Tristan McLaren, and you'd think that would bring it close. In fact, they were very close together as the penalty was applied there, McLaren. But Todd Parks does not quite have the points to overhaul Tristan McLaren there. Kane Ryder rounds out the top 15, with Seth Burkhart's failing to finish, same for Angus Milne, who finishes down the field as well. Let's have a chat then, shall we, to the drivers who matter at the end of that race. You can see the final standings there. Benjamin Roberts is our champion, officially by 106 points, or unofficially I suppose we should say. But Benjamin, welcome in, good to have you with us, and congratulations on winning this final race of the season. You made the decision to pit in on lap number 1. What was motivating you to do that tonight?
First of all, thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, that strategy was pretty easy one on my end. You know, I had 3 teammates, Max Bruce cars behind, and you know, I didn't want to get caught up in any of the team games, so I thought I'd just sort of get out of their way and focus on my own pace, because I knew I had the pace advantage this week, and really that second stint was really crucial for me, able to just pump in good lap after good lap and build a bit of a gap.
How important was it as well getting past one of the Max Boost teammates as well, Vaughan Ryder, who was in your way for a lap or so? I suspect, or I was saying at the time, that might have been a really key moment in the race, because if you got slowed down too much, you could have lost the lead, or at the very least brought the slipstream back into play again. But was that how you were viewing it in your head, or were you a little bit calmer in the sense that you knew you had a big lead?
Yeah, I was a little bit calmer about it. You know, I knew Vaughan would probably make me work for it a little bit, but at the same time, it wouldn't be long before he had to pit as well, and I knew I had about 6.5 seconds in hand at that point, so yeah, I wasn't too worried in the grand scheme of things.
Well, congratulations again on winning this final race of the season, and officially, of course, clinching the title tonight, because there was a very small, I would say less than 1% chance that you could have lost it tonight. But when we knew the amount of people in the race, we certainly knew you were the champion. Congratulations on that, and a great season, and thanks for coming to chat to us throughout as well.
Yeah, thanks very much, boys. It's been good fun all season.
Thanks very much. That's Benjamin Roberts winning here tonight. I can imagine it has been fun if you win every week. There you go. That's Benjamin Roberts, our winner tonight from Suzuka. Oisin Colangelo finishes in second place tonight, and indeed the championship as well. Oisin, welcome in. Congratulations on yet another podium here this season. If you take Benjamin Roberts out of the equation, I think the season's been a very impressive one for yourself, not finishing off the podium since the very first race of the season. That's 12 in a row. You must be pleased with that record, even if it, you know, I guess has been frustrating not beating Roberts at some stages this season. How are you feeling at the end of the season?
Pretty happy with the consistent results, but I would have been a bit more glad if some of them were wins. But yeah, Ben's got it down packed with his strategies and how he finds so much time in the pits. I still don't know.
Of course, another part of it tonight, he had 2 stop races, of course, in the 45-minute events. Was there anything you feel you could have done there to sort of get anywhere closer to Roberts, at least get in the slipstream at some stage? After he'd pitted in on lap 1, were you not tempted to follow a lap later?
No, by the time I came out the pits, he was already 4 seconds. Yeah, he did a good job with that first lap pit stop, because you're not really, you know, you don't really think someone's going to do that. So yeah, he threw me off a little bit with that move, but yeah, it was quite a smart move, so we couldn't get his toe.
Absolutely, and in the end it's another second place. Congrats on that great run of podiums for you this season, of course, and second place tonight, and thanks for coming to chat to us at the end as always.
Yep, thank you, and just want to shout out thanks to Team Max Boost and Logitech G for the support this season. And you guys are all in the background that make these races possible.
Thanks very much, Austin Colangelo. Second place here tonight from Suzuka, and indeed in this championship as well. Madeline McGee finishes in third place. There's two Max Boost cars on the podium. Madeline, welcome in and congratulations on your return to the series, back on the podium again for the second time this season as well. How did you find the race tonight at Suzuka?
It's pretty good. Got away at the start, held, third for a while. Millington was getting real close to me, and then there was a bit of antics midway through. And there was a lap 5 or something that switched things around and broke the toe, and from there it was steady sailing. Just stayed in the slipstream and didn't screw up.
Just how important was the slipstream tonight from Suzuka? We know that Roberts came in on the first lap of the race, which I guess was a strategy to prevent all of the Max Boost drivers, yourself included, from getting the slipstream all the way around that first stint. So how much would it have gained you? How much of a key factor was it tonight?
I think it was worth half a second per lap for me. As soon as the second pit stop and Hoshian broke the toe, I was half a second down every lap. So 22 laps, that's 11-second gap probably.
It's certainly significant, but I don't think it'd be that much. I've got to admit, half a second, quite steep. But no, congratulations on finishing on the podium again. As I say, second time this season for yourself, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thanks so much. That is Madeline McGee finishing in third place and further down outside the top 10, but silver class winner Ben Ryder can also join us now as well. Ben, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and it's a Team Max Boost double podium and also a win in the silver class as well. Just how surprised were you, by the way, at the end of the race there when you saw the race results and you were in the silver class victory with Tristan McLaren's penalty late on? Did you know anything about that?
No. I was congratulating Madeline and OC on their good drives, and then get told that I won silver, so a bit of a surprise, but I'll take it.
Well, absolutely, why not? You were 6th place in the silver standings coming into today. You should move up to maybe 4th, actually, maybe 5th, but anyway, you'll certainly be in the top 5. How have you found this season overall? We haven't been able to talk to you too much, but how have you found this F4 campaign?
Yeah, it's been a great series for the team. I started off real slow, had a few issues with my sim, which we've rectified the last couple of weeks, and I have got a bit more pace, so just got to keep improving, and hopefully more results will come.
Absolutely. Congratulations on this result tonight, Ben, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, guys. Thanks for your broadcast work as well.
Thanks very much. That is Ben Ryder, our silver class winner here tonight. I did see Tristan McLaren pop himself in there briefly, but it does seem that he's disappeared again. So here are the final standings. Provisional, of course, Benjamin Roberts leading and winning by 106 points over Austin Colangelo in the end. Alexi Watson will win the silver class title. As you suspected, Jared, a little bit of a bigger gap than it was on the road. It would have been 4 points on the road, 22 in reality. And Todd Parks only 2 points behind McLaren in the end. He just needed one more place and he would have been able to get up there, but sadly not for him this time around, and they finished 2nd and 3rd themselves as well. A good end to the Silver Class Championship, I've got to say, and that was maybe more lively than what we were expecting here from Suzuka, but absolute dominance from Benjamin Roberts here tonight with 945 points. Wasn't possible to get 1,000 points this season, I don't think, but he very nearly got there anyway.
Very, very close, and if anyone was going to be able to get 1,000, it'd be Ben Roberts, so I don't even need to do the maths. I can just say that if Ben Roberts can't get 1,000 after the performance he's put on in this 8 rounds of this F4 championship, then it can't be done. It's as simple as that. A completely dominant display right throughout the season. Hats off, though, to Colangelo, because you look at the gap that Colangelo's put on 3rd, 4th, 5th place in this championship, and I think maybe overshadowed a little bit by Roberts' performance. It would be remiss of us to overlook just how well O'Shea and Colangelo has also driven to end up, both these guys hundreds of points ahead of the nearest drivers.
nearly 300. Colangelo's advantage overcame Ryder, a teammate. So, yeah, that is a good point and pretty remarkable. Any other normal season, Colangelo would be champion, that's for sure. But unfortunately for her, just come up against an unbelievable machine in Benjamin Roberts at the front end of the field. Tristan McLaren has clearly heard. Oh no, he's gone again. He's teasing us at the moment, so I think he was listening there briefly and thought, I'll go back then. But then saw us going through the standards, thought maybe not. But anyway, he's gone again now. So anyway, commiserations to him because he was pretty close on a couple of occasions, but not quite close enough in the end. He just misses out on the Silver Class Championship. A big thanks to all the drivers, of course, who've come to chat with us throughout the season, and indeed the people for watching as well. Now I've said that again, Tristan McLaren has popped himself back in, so I'm going to grab him before he moves again. We can briefly chat to him. Tristan, welcome in. Good to have you with us. And thanks for chatting to us at the end of the season as well. How are you feeling at the end of that one? A day where you could have snatched the Silver Championship away at the end, but not quite to be in the end. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it just wasn't to be, unfortunately. You know, I just have races like that. It was unfortunate that the contact with Antwerp costed me the silver win. I would have liked that, but, you know, it happens. And I would like to say you read me like a book. I did have a look at your broadcast, and you were looking at the standings, so I thought, I'll leave you guys. And then I heard you see me go, so I'm back.
Yeah, I was slightly fearing that before I dragged you this time around that you'd leave again, so I had to do it quickly. But yeah, how have you found the season overall? I mean, it would have been your second top 10 of the season if that penalty had not unfortunately dropped you a few places through. And overall, it's been very consistent over the course of the season. You've finished in the sort of the same areas all the way throughout. And you know, let's not forget, this is a big step up in terms of overall finishing positions. A big step up from where we saw you at the start of this year in the Super Formula Lights Championship, and that championship, of course, going better for you than it ever has, and this championship as well. How pleased are you that you've come so close this season to getting that silver title?
Oh yeah, well, it's been a good year. Look, I hadn't done any proper sim racing before this year. I did it on and off, and I just saw MC Motorsports. I got hooked up with Everything Simulated Racing, and it's been off to races since then. Look, the season's been okay. I've been struggling with the car. It doesn't drive like the Super Formula. You'd think they're similar. This is more, I think of it more like a go-kart where you want to hold pressure, where in the SFL you want to get up and trail it off like a triangle. And I've just been struggling, especially with over-pushing. You can cook for rears, and I over-push like nothing. So, look, if anything, I have to congratulate Alexi for the championship. Because he's just driven a phenomenal season. I've been patchy and he's gone just constant going there. And, it's unfortunate he couldn't make it tonight. And to some extent, I'm happy for him to win the championship because I think he deserves it.
Well, absolutely, and you did just about hang on to second place as well, despite Todd Parks making a resurgence at the end with that penalty. But either way, congratulations on getting to the end of another season up towards the front. Tristan, thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks so much, guys. You do a great job. See you guys later.
Thanks very much. That's Tristan McLaren, our Silver Class second place driver in the championship in the end. So nice to chat to him at the end, of course. And there's your final standings with McLaren just 2 points in front of Parks and 22 behind Alexi Watson. It's been a good season overall, Jared, from the very beginning at the Ben Motorsports Park over the course of 5 sprint rounds and 3 feature rounds. We've seen dominance up towards the front, but great racing throughout the field all throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and couldn't have asked for better, I think. Despite the runaway success of our front two, plenty of tight battles right throughout the season across all of the feature races, across all of the sprint races. We've had some of the closest finishes that I've ever seen in iRacing, period. To have 2 races back-to-back that finished in the thousands in terms of the win is just phenomenal and really gives you a realization of how close these races really are. The championship standings just do not really cover how close some of these events have been, and it's made for just such a wonderful thing to cover here with Simple Racing Broadcast. It's been a great season, and I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to do the same.
Absolutely. The next bit of racing here at the Formula Drivers League, of course, is the Formula Ford Recruitment Series, which starts on Tuesday on the 2nd of September. So make sure you join in with that one. The info and registration, if you want to get involved with the FDL leagues, the F4 or Super Formula Lights Championship, or indeed that recruitment series, which if you're just getting into the series might be a good idea. From Tuesday, you can visit the website, which is linked in our video description here tonight. So if you want to get involved, you're more than welcome, and you can do so with that website down the bottom there. But yes, that's the next bit of racing we've got. It's coming on Tuesday for the first time from the 2nd of September. So, of course, title sponsors, Everything Simulated and Player One Sim Gear. And, of course, we're also supported by Capstone Marketing and Print Ratio as well. Big thanks to them. And as I say, big thanks to you for watching at home as well. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Jared Cole throughout this season of the Everything Simulated F4 Championship, supported by Player One Sim Gear. Until we see you for the recruitment series and, indeed, new seasons to come in October here at the Formula Drivers League. It's goodbye for now.